2 days after voting was concluded in most states of Nigeria, results of winners continue to trickle in. More states have been announced and collation continues in few states. Collations have been completed and winners have emerged in 24 states out of the 28 where elections were conducted. Sadly, 4 states have been declared inconclusive. There have been big wins for the APC, including wins in Kaduna, Lagos, Ogun, Gombe, Yobe, Kwara, Jigawa, Sokoto, Katsina, and Cross River states. In total, the APC, we're told, has won in about 15 states. The party is also leading in a couple of other states where the results are still coming. Some gains also for the PDP, having been announced winner in Rivers and Taraba overnight, and this morning also in Zamfara, where Alhaji Dauda Lawal was declared winner of the election in Zamfara State, beating incumbent Governor Bello Matawale with 377,726 votes. That's the news from Zamfara State this morning. The NNPP, however, has picked up the big prize in Kano State. Let's now take you through the numbers behind those results. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has also declared Colonel Kefas Agbo retired as a winner of Saturday governorship election in Taraba State. Colonel Kefas Agbo polled 257,926 votes to defeat Professor Sani Yahaya of NNPP, who polled 202,277 votes. Senator Emmanuel Bwacha of the All Progressives Congress came a distant third with 142,502 votes. The results were declared by the returning officer for the state, Professor Mohammed Ahmed Abdulaziz, the Vice Chancellor of Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University in Bauchi.
The All Progressives Congress APC candidate, Senator Uba Sani, has been declared the winner of the 2023 governorship election in Kaduna State. He was declared the winner by the returning officer for Kaduna State and Vice Chancellor of the Usman Dan Fodio University, Sokoto, Professor Lawal Suleiman Bilbis. Sani polled a total of 730,002 votes to defeat his closest rival, Issa Ashiru of the People's Democratic Party, who polled 719,196 votes. The Labour Party candidate, Jonathan Ashake, came a distant third after polling 58,283 votes, while the New Nigeria People's Party candidate, Suleiman Hunkuyi, scored 21,405 votes.
The people of Kaduna State have given us their mandate to lead in serving them for the next 4 years. We accept this privilege as a heavy responsibility. We shall carry out the people's democratic directives with focus and unrelenting dedication. We shall govern for all, no matter how they voted, no matter how they worship or which of many tongues they speak. Our gaze will be firmly in the direction of continued progress, peace, prosperity of the state. We shall get straight to work on sustaining and strengthening the path of development that our beloved leader, Malam Nasir Ahmed Erufai, has brilliantly opened for Kaduna State. I thank Malam Nasir Ahmed Erufai and his executive team for their collective efforts since 2015 to build the foundation for a new Kaduna State. I thank every resident of Kaduna State who helped to make the 2023 elections a largely peaceful exercise. I acknowledge the effort of APC leaders at all levels and the tireless work of the members of our campaign council and party supporters across the state who helped to carry our message to the people. The teeming youth, women, civil society, and our many support groups work for this victory, and we thank them. We are indebted to traditional, community and religious leaders who help to foster an atmosphere of peace. I salute all APC candidates in 2023 elections for their hard work and contribution to this overall success, despite some setbacks. I'm grateful to Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president-elect, for his consistent support. I wish to specially acknowledge the support of President Muhammadu Buhari, who even took the time to record a message of endorsement for my campaign. It is in the nature of democratic contestation that they are concluded with the declaration of one candidate as a winner. But we are all winners when the people freely declare their preference at the ballot. I note the energetic campaigns of fellow contestants and call on them to continue to make their contributions to Kaduna State. Much has been achieved since 2015, but much remains to be done to drive Kaduna State closer to its potentials. Therefore, we shall be devoting efforts in the next few days to ensuring that we can begin to govern effectively from 2023-29 May, with the standards of efficiency and clarity set by the current government. Thank you for investing your support in us. I and my running mate, Dr. Hadiza Sabo Balaribe, deeply appreciate your mandate.
Incumbent Governor of Bauchi State and candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Bala Mohammed, has won Saturday's governorship election in the state to retain his position for the next 4 years. Mohammed polled the highest number of votes to defeat his closest rival and candidate of the All Progressives Congress in second position. Correspondent Omo Bazwaye reports.
Jubilation. Wild jubilation in the streets of Bauchi moments after the incumbent governor and candidate of the People's Democratic Party PDP, Bala Mohammed, was declared the winner of Saturday's governorship elections.
That Mohammed Bala Abdul Qadir of PDP, having satisfied the requirement of the law, is hereby declared the winner and is returned elected.
With this victory, Mohammed ends months of anxiety whether or not he will be able to garner enough votes to fence off the rivalry of a former chief of his staff and candidate of the All Progressive Congress APC, Sadiq Abubakar, and also confront the challenge from a former Speaker of the State House of Assembly and serving Senator Halilu Dauda Jika.
On our supporters to join us in praying for His Excellency the Governor so that the second term will even be better than the first term. And we call on those who lost in the election to accept it as the wish of the people and the will of God. A power is given by God. We believe in our faith, and it is through the instrumentality of the people.
All through the night, party agents, election observers and journalists kept vigil at the state INEC office, waiting for the last result from Bauchi local government area to come in. The local government area has the largest number of registered voters for the election, about 450,000 of them, and it is believed that results from this end could swing or upturn the lead already established by the PDP candidates. That permutation didn't work. When the results was finally collated and announced, Mohammed simply used it to expand his lead, making the gap even more unassailable for the APC and NMPP candidates. Having satisfied all the requirements of the law, scoring the highest votes and spread, INEC made the announcement and declared Mohammed the winner. But it is a victory the opposition All Progressive Congress APC does not want to have anything to do with, alleging that it was massively manipulated to favor the incumbent governor.
The result is cook. It's not the exact result. I'm not convinced with what took place here. Before you, I raised several alarms, and it was in their deaf ears, and they have made their mind. It's a mindset they have taken, and they have taken a decision which they could not even listen to any advice somewhere. So I am not party to it, and I will not concur to it.
Mohammed polled a total of 525,280 votes to confine APC candidate Sadiq Abubakar to a distant second position with 432,780 votes, and Aliru Dauda Jika with 60,496 votes to place third in the election, leaving the remaining 9 candidates in the governorship race to share the crumbs of what was left of the votes. A total of 2.7 million people were registered for the governorship elections in Bauchi State, but only 1,058,000 of them were accredited for the election according to the returning officer. The returning officer further noted that a total of 15,221 votes were rejected as a result of issues ranging from overvoting, ballot box snatching, and outright disruption of the exercise in some polling units. But while the APC and a few others in the opposition think the infractions were enough to cancel the election or declare it inconclusive, those in PDP and Bala Mohammed camp seized every portion of the road in the state capital Bauchi to relish in the moment of victory. Omo Bazwaye, Arise News.
Governor Bala Mohammed spoke to Arise News shortly after he was announced winner and returned elected.
We want to see a situation where competitors come together and join us in this government that we want to consolidate what we have started, because the people of Bauchi have spoken in one voice that they appreciate what we have started in 2019. And so continuity is going to be the hallmark of our governance, but taking into consideration that we have a lot of diversity, and that diversity is a source of strength. And of course, those who competed with me are people of proven, they have been pedigree, they have worked before, like me in the federal system. They should be able to come with something on board so that we'll be able to come together, collaborate, and take Bauchi to the next level. But I want to say this because I have opened up the victory to be a victory for Bauchi and the people of Bauchi, but certainly I will not be there to tolerate a situation where we engage in blame game and accusations and counter-accusations and manifestation of mediocrity, which is just what I'm beginning to see at the moment. But certainly I said, if I have done anything at the time we are campaigning and electioneering, I am asking for forgiveness, and I have forgiven everybody who contested with me because they have the right to contest. But certainly we should overlook some of our own shortcomings and limitations so that we'll be able to come together and build a new Bauchi where we will leave legacies and landmarks, and also deepen the leadership recruitment that you have spoken in terms of the human capital that we will need to build infrastructure and services and a new bureaucracy, not about our personal interests, which I believe by now all of us are just opportune to be where we are. Otherwise, we have benefited so much from the Nigerian nation, especially from our micro constituency of Bauchi State.
Well, it must have been a bitterly fought elections with your opponent, be a former military chief, the chief of the air staff, Sadiq Abubakar. Has he extended, has he congratulated you, and have you extended, the olive branch to him?
I have extended the olive branch, and he is my younger brother. We went to the same school, and of course I know him very well, but certainly I heard that he has not accepted the result, and if he has not, it is his own right not to. But certainly, as for me, I'm still extending the olive leaf. He should come and work with us and forget what happened in the contest, because I think most people have chosen to go with me. And I may not be the best, but certainly collectively we will take excellence to a certain level. But the over-militarization of the process is what is the problem, and the expectations. And of course, people definitely, especially the Air Marshal undirected me for no reason. And of course, the gang up that went in the build-up of the election with some leaders who believe they are the teen gods, those who feel they can make Omar, but they have been demystified and demeaned by the power of God. Because it is not me. They believe that they thought I was a neophyte, I was an upstart, but they are really mistaken, because I always like being undirected, and that is why I spring surprises in a manner that we won. But even at victory, I'm magnanimous.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has declared Governor Babagana Zulum as the winner of the Borno State governorship election held on Saturday, 18th March 2023. Governor Zulum polled a total of 545,543 votes to defeat Mohammed Ali Jajari of the PDP, who scored 82,147 votes. The Borno State INEC returning officer, Professor Sani Rabo, announced the outcome of the gubernatorial election conducted in the 27 local government areas of the state. Professor Babagana Zulum commended INEC for smooth conduct of the election and promised to run an all-inclusive government.
Umar Babagana, who is a male, contested under APC and had 545,543. In other words, 545,543 votes. Of APC, having satisfied the requirements of the law, is hereby declared the winner and is returned elected.
Let me also recognize that your powers as electors have been strengthened by the recent innovations from the INEC. These innovations, which include the introduction of beavers, are increasingly making reading nearly impossible for those who desire it. The implication of this important measure is that elected leaders either work for their people or get voted out. Let me commend INEC in general for conducting a credible election across all levels in Borno State.
And the People's Democratic Party governorship candidate, Dauda Lawal, has unseated Zamfara State Governor Bello Matawalle of the All Progressives Congress, APC. Lawal scored a total of 377,726 votes to defeat Matawalle, who polled 311,976 votes in what may be described as the biggest upset of the general elections. The Independent National Electoral Commission declared Lawal the governor-elect in Gusau, the state capital, in the early hours of Tuesday.
I, Professor Kasimu Shehu, hereby certify that I am the returning officer for the 2023 Zamfara State governorship election held on the 18th day of March 2023. His Excellency Bello Mohammed Matawalle Maradun, male of political party APC, scored 311,976. Lawal Dauda, male of political party PDP, scored 377,726. Lawal Dauda of political party PDP, having satisfied the requirement of the law, is hereby declared the winner and is returned elected.
Kano State government has also lifted the dawn-to-dusk curfew imposed on the state with a view to avoid a breakdown of law and order, following tensions generated from the announcement of the results of the governorship and state assembly elections. The State Commissioner for Information and Internal Affairs, Malam Muhammad Garuba, made the announcement, lifting the curfew in a statement. He said the decision to lift the curfew was after a careful review of the situation and the relative calm throughout the state. The commissioner called on commercial banks, public servants, and the people in the state to come out and continue their normal businesses. Meanwhile, candidate of the NNPP and governor-elect Abba Kabir Yusuf had this to say after his election.
On behalf of my humble self and my deputy, Comrade Aminu Abdul Salam Gorzo, we stand before you to accept the mandate of the good people of Kano State, affirming to uphold this special contract between our party, the New Nigeria People's Party, and the good people of Kano State. Our unflinching gratitude goes to the entire people of the state. We recognize your commitment, your determination, courage, loyalty, as well as your ferocious resolve to defend your sovereign rights and the integrity of our democracy. Despite the fact that our party, the NNPP, is relatively new, coupled with the fact that the logo of our party was purely depicted on the ballot paper, and with widespread of electoral violence, you still gave us your mandate. We had no money, and due to the inflicted poverty on the citizenry, the government of the day took advantage by buying votes of the people with both the new and old currencies and distributed wrappers and other household items to voters. Against all these odds, you still came out en masse to give us your mandate. Indeed, Talia Batadabi. We are profoundly grateful and will not take your mandate for granted. Our unreserved commendation also goes to members of the armed forces who were deployed to Kano for the election, and most of other security agencies, and indeed Independent Electoral Commission, for maintaining their neutrality by keeping the peace and promptly responding to our genuine complaints before, during, and after the elections. In the same vein, I salute and commend the patriotism of members of the media for their coverage, and also applaud and appreciate the roles played by members of the civil society and the numerous domestic and international observer groups that worked tirelessly towards ensuring free, fair, and credible elections. Fellow compatriots, our determination will be an offshoot of the Konkoso administration, and we assure the good people of Kano State of our resolve to uphold and continue the philosophy of the Konkosia movement. We shall continue with its laudable policies of good qualitative education, empowerment programs, policies and programs that promote skills acquisition and entrepreneurship. The completion of abundant projects across the state, free maternal health care program, and provision of conducive atmosphere for the development of businesses within the state. We cannot complete our acceptance speech without thanking our leader, our mentor, His Excellency Senator Rabi Musa Konkoso, for his untiring effort that led to the declaration of our mandate today as Governor and Deputy Governor-elect. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, we thank all people of good will across the country and even foreign nationals. It is our hope that you will continue to support us toward the successful discharge of our mandate.
Well, I think we should comment on some of this. We just had the Kano State governor-elect there from the Kwankwanso camp, extending an olive branch to others and thanking all the people who voted for him. And we've seen that trend, in many of the cases. In Delta State, for example, Sheriff Badawari has issued a statement through Charles Aniagu, the Delta State Commissioner of Information, calling on the defeated candidates, Vie Omo Agege of the All Progressives Congress, to say, look, just accept defeat, and let us move on and let us work together. However, in many of these states where victory has been declared, there is, that conflict. Many of them are saying we will go to court. The APC in Delta State has written a petition to INEC, and it's alleging irregularities in many parts of the state, from Ukwane to Ethiopia West to other Ushimili, the Ushimili area of the state, to other parts of the state, and saying that, look, in Anyocha, in Eka, south and northeast, in Ukwane, in Ndokwa, east and west, and also in Anyocha south, that there were irregularities. So you find that pattern. Also in Ogun State, Adebutu, the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, is alleging overvoting, is alleging, the use of violence in the election, and I said he does not accept defeat. And that's the pattern that you find all around. So what we're likely to witness in the days to come will be a lot of litigation. And some of the aggrieved parties from the states are already going to the courts. Another pattern that we may have seen would seem to be that where in some states anointed candidates won, in some other states they lost out. For example, in Kano, whose governor-elect was just speaking, the anointed candidate of Governor Ganduje, Yusuf Gawuna, lost. It was NNPP that won in that state, and that's the only state that the NNPP won. In Plateau State, Simon Lalong's candidate also lost. That's Yewatida, right? He was supposed to be on this program at some point before the elections, but he couldn't make it. So it was the PDP that won, and that's Muftwang. And so you find Plateau State returning to the PDP. The PDP was in charge of Plateau State, I guess, from 1999 to 2015. It was in 1915 that it went the way of the APC. So some upset there. Also in Benue State, Governor Samuel Otom was not able to return his anointed candidate. In that particular state, the man that won was Reverend Father Yasin Talia of the APC. So the PDP lost there. So much for the G5. Even before then, Samuel Otom lost his ambition to go to the Senate. One thing that must be noted about Benue State, however, was that results from Kwande local government area were not counted, because in the Kwande local government area, there were errors on the ballot paper. And so the returning officer decided that, in the light of Section 24, subsection 1 of the Electoral Act 2022, there was no need to declare a winner, because at issue were 15 registration areas, about 172,000 registered voters. But what Section 24, subsection 1 of the Electoral Act 2022 says is that if the gap of the undeclared places or the affected local government areas is not up to the margin of victory, then of course you can discountenance it. Then of course, in some states, however, anointment worked. It seems to have worked in Delta State, where Sheriff Oberewori, he was the anointed candidate of the incumbent governor, Senator Ifeanyi Okowa, vice presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party. It also seems to have worked in Cross River, where Senator Basio too of the All Progressives Congress took the prize. The governor having ported, typical Nigerian word, to the APC ahead of the general elections. In Ebonyi, also Governor Dave Umahi succeeded in putting in place Francis Nwifuru. Francis Nwifuru was the anointed candidate of the governor. In Kaduna State, we had a peculiar case. The man that was eventually announced was Sani. But before the announcement, there was jubilation across the state that the man that had won was Isa Ashiru of the People's Democratic Party, and there was jubilation across the state. But at the end of the day, it turned out that Sani was declared winner. However, the irony in that state is that Ashiru won in 13 local government areas. Maybe that was what motivated the people to start dancing. And the man who was eventually declared winner won in 10 local government areas. But the lesson here is that people should refrain from announcing results ahead of INEC. Yesterday, for example, in the Adamawa case, people were already announcing the results, women were already jubilating, but it turned out that INEC decided to declare the election in Adamawa inconclusive, as he did in other states, including Ebonyi, including Enugu, including Kebbi, 4 states, where the gubernatorial elections were declared inconclusive. However, Dr. Idi Hong, the agent for the People's Democratic Party in Adamawa State, made the point that, look, the result in Adamawa State should have been declared, because the problematic polling units, the number of voters there, not more than 7,000. And that, if you go by the example in Kwande local government area in Benue State, 7,000 voters will probably not make a difference, because, of course, Infantry, the incumbent governor in Adamawa State, was leading by more than 30,000 votes. But these are some of the things to be resolved. And the PDP in Adamawa is saying, look, the plan is to collude with INEC to declare in favor of the APC. So that's a state that should be watched very closely. But on the whole, the APC appears very comfortably in the lead. The APC, as at 10 p.m. yesterday, are taking a total of 15 states. As of this morning, the PDP can boast of 7 states. So the PDP is on its way to becoming effectively, truly, a smaller party. And all of these are issues, I guess, that these political parties may well think about. So from, what I've seen, that's the picture, the emerging picture since we last discussed these matters yesterday morning.
Well, yes, a few other things that, just talking about the Kano state, another trend is that we've seen some candidates, opposition, congratulate winners. So some people have accepted the results, despite the fact that we have some people who've disputed, some candidates who've disputed the results. Example or case in point is in Kano state, where they've been able to accept the results, and hence the governor was able to lift the dusk to dawn curfew. Another state in that regard is Ogun State, where Senator Teslin Folarin has congratulated. That's your state. Sorry, my beg your pardon. Has congratulated Governor Sheyi Makinde, and just commending the people of Oyo State for the way they conducted themselves during the elections. So we've seen that that pattern as well, even though majority of the candidates have said that they're not satisfied with the election results and would be contesting the results. Also, very importantly, is also the fact that despite the two main parties still remaining, as has been mentioned, the APC and the PDP, we have seen the NNPP emerge in Kano State. But something that observers had talked about perhaps was that would the results of the presidential election reflect in the gubernatorial elections? This wasn't the case in many instances. For instance, the Labour Party, which made quite a headway during the presidential elections, has not been able to win a state as yet. We have seen them, even with, in regards to the numbers that they've been able to poll, not very impressive numbers, apart from states like Lagos State. But in other states where they did quite well, like in Taraba State during the presidential elections, where they actually led that state, they were not able to replicate that in the gubernatorial elections. Also, with regards to the seats in the State House of Assembly, we've seen some strongholds being maintained. For instance, in Anambra State, the Charles Soludo Abga has been able to retain a number of seats, as opposed to what observers have thought the Labour Party would have made an inroad due to the momentum they gathered during the presidential elections. Also, in terms of the State House Assembly seats, you see in a state like Ekiti State, where the APC swept the seats in that state, with the governor ensuring that he was able to hold on to those seats. In Osun State, Governor Adeleke was also able to make his mark in terms of the states and the number of seats that have been retained in the Osun State House of Assembly. Also, in terms of anointed candidates, we see that the power of incumbency worked or was powerful in Akwa Ibom State, where Pastor Umo Eno emerged as governor. Again, in the coming days, it will begin to unfold in terms of the candidates who feel aggrieved and would go on to seek redress in the courts. As has been touted by a number of areas, the courts will then be the decider, weighing the case before them as to who will be either retained or perhaps who will emerge as a substantive governor in those states. Another area to mention is that observers have begun to give their verdict as to how well the elections were conducted across the state. The EU observers were quite bold and quite adamant about the fact that despite the fact that there were lessons learned in the last election, there were still some irregularities and was marred by violence. So a number of people coming out in this case. I must just emphasize what Dr. Bati mentioned in terms of INEC being the only recognized body empowered to announce results. The Adamawa situation, the Adamawa case is a peculiar one indeed, because as at Sunday evening, there were already organizations, even some foreign missions, who had gone online to congratulate Senator Binani as the first elected female governor of Nigeria. It then happened that he hadn't been called by INEC, and by Monday morning, it emerged that the incumbent governor, Governor Fintiri, was leading in some parts, and now, as we've seen it, it's been declared inconclusive. So these are some of the lessons, even for electorate and observers to pick up from the last few days as we continue to watch. In Abia State and in Enugu, the results haven't yet been announced. A few challenges by opposition parties in that regard, meaning that we haven't been able to get a result on those. So aside from the inconclusive state, Adamawa, hopefully we get to hear some results at the end of today.
Okay. A couple of states have come in. In fact, most of the states have come in out of the 28 states that are having governorship elections only few remaining to go. But one thing I noticed from the last election cycle is the trend of inconclusive elections. And let me use the word debatable inconclusive elections. And let me start from Adamawa State. And when you hear the argument being made about the margin at which the PDP candidate is leading to the areas that are disputed, the margin far outweighs those areas. Even in a case where about the 7,000 votes up for grab in those areas are added to the APC candidate Binani's votes, it will not still upturn things. And that was the argument being made by the PDP agent vociferously on television yesterday. Another trend I saw that was shocking, that I didn't see in the presidential election. So INEC can actually stop and review results from local governments that are disputed. But why was that not done in the presidential elections? Why was that haste just to get it done with and announce it? Because in states like Abia, we are seeing big disputes around Obingwa that made Festus Okoye release a message that we'll have to review it and we suspend the coalition for now. But in the presidential election, there were heavy contentious areas that INEC was supposed to say, okay, let's look at it deeply before we make a call on it. Unsukatu is being touted around that area in Enugu and a couple of other local governments. So I think these are some of the learnings we should take. So is it that there is a different slant for presidential election and a different slant for governorship elections? Also, the case in Kano that the NNPP won, let's not forget the fact that that victory did not just come like that. It was a hard fought for victory that led to chaos. And media were not reporting enough of the chaos that ensued between APC and NNPP supporters. That was really abhorrent. And the fact that the electoral officer, and kudos to the rec there, had to stand tall. Because we remember the antecedents of Kano in the last election. This same scenario, neck and neck, then they declared inconclusive, then the APC carried the day when they finally concluded the elections. But this was not the case. The electoral officer stood tall, made the announcement, a curfew was declared, but the curfew has been upturned now. People can go back to their normal duties. So in all of this too, there have been resident electoral commissioners that have stood the test of time and that have, stood and been counted for integrity. But the question, what we keep saying is that the institution itself should have a pervasive standard. All right? The institution itself must have a pervasive standard. We cannot keep having an institution where you have pockets of brightness everywhere. Then it's not an institution. Then it becomes individualism. And we cannot keep waiting on the boldness and the integrity of personal people in institutions. It must be a base minimum standard. And that's the grouse a lot of people have got with INEC. That yes, we are seeing rays of hope with electoral commissioners sticking their neck out through thick and thin to announce the justified results by the people. But at the same time, we are seeing people, other electoral commissioners, that are being complicit, that are being touted in complicity. So it makes mockery of this. So kudos to the INEC rec that did well, but shame on those that couldn't stand for integrity and justice. Going to Benue State, a lot of people have already, prior to the elections, touted Reverend Father Hyacinth earlier. And you see, Benue State has a love affair with Reverend Fathers. This is the second time. If you remember in 1992, Father Moses, all right, famously came in there, I think it's by providence or something. He too was American-trained Reverend Father, but we all remember how that was truncated in 93 and all of that. He came in there. He did a lot for Benue State. Now, Benue is having another Reverend Father in the frame of Father Alia. Let's see how this pans out for Benue people. But prior to this time, by the electoral watchers, he always got a big support. Let's move to Zamfara. Zamfara was quite shocking, the PDP taking Zamfara, because a lot of people thought that Matawale had a foothold. But let's not forget also, Matawale emerged with the PDP prior to this time because the elections that brought the APC in was nullified. So automatically the PDP was allowed to take over in Zamfara. Then he cross-carpeted, to the APC. And now you can see what's happened. Dauda Lawal of the PDP has won Zamfara. So Zamfara has gone back to the PDP, we'll boldly say, from the APC. And afterwards, the election map keep changing. Places like Kaduna, yes, retained by the APC, hard and fought, and I mean, like we always do say here, it is only INEC that can announce the official results, irrespective of the fact that Uba Sani did win. But you can see it was a fight to finish. Ashiru Kudan put in a good fight. The margins was quite very slim. A lot of people have said probably if Jonathan Ashake of the Labour Party had done a deal with Ashiru Kudan, maybe they would just have tipped through the ranks. Taraba went to the PDP. A couple of other states also coming in the South. Cross River went to the APC. And it's quite dynamic about Cross River because prior to this time, Cross River was a strong PDP state until Governor Ayadi made that switch to the APC. He did lose badly in the presidential elections, but this time around, the APC has been able to take Cross River once again. So fast changing. So APC is beginning to make inroads in the south of the country. Obviously, we all talked about Akwa Ibom yesterday that went to the PDP, Pastor Eno, retaining the land in the PDP. That state has always been PDP since the time of Obong Victor Atta, and they have a strong foothold there. But when you also look at the fact that, politics is quite local, they could have taken it. Delta was highly contentious back and forth. It was a big fight between the Deputy Senate President of Yoma Agege and Sheriff Oboriwori. And it was a fight to finish. But you could see the margins there. Onwagege says he's going to challenge it. But truth has to be told, prior to this time, Delta has always been a PDP state. Although a lot of people challenged the records of the PDP and said, prior to this time, they had not done too well. Take, for instance, I saw an interview granted by Governor Okowa that was talking about the debt was inherited from other administration. But somebody would like to ask the Governor Okowa, wasn't it the PDP administration that has been in Delta since 1999, where Chief James Onanefe Ibori became governor? So it's always been PDP. So it is the PDP party that has made that debt that he is talking about that they are inheriting in the state now. Moving on, a lot of giant strides were made, by APGA. So you can see the thing is tilting now. Once you get into Anambra State, APGA making a very big showing there, sweep most of the state. There were a couple of seats too for LP in the House of Assembly elections there, but APGA showed a very dominant force there. You move on to Ebonyi, the things have changed. Ebonyi prior to this time, from the days of Sam Egu, used to be a full-on PDP state. But now, things are tilting. It's now APC because the incumbent governor did change to APC at a point. So now you can see APC retaining the state. So a couple of places in Southeast that used to be full-on PDP are now changing. So when you look at the political calendar in the Southeast, it is changing. You've got APC making big incursions in there. So the talk about, it's in the Southeast and South is a no-go area for the APC. The political climate has changed. APC have got states. They've made inroads in the South now. They've made inroads in the Southeast. But some more results to come. We'll see if Labour can finally take the tape there, because out of the local governments and now not fine Abia, Alex Oti is leading with about 10 local governments with Labour. And there's that dispute about Obingwa. Probably when that comes in, let's see if Labour can take that. Probably. Let's see Enugu too is neck and neck between PDP, Peter Mba, and Labour candidate and all of that. Let's see where that will tilt to. So when those states come in, we'll be able to see the full picture. But largely, the big winners in this governorship election, dominating most states, is the APC. They lost some states too, like Zamfara and the likes, but definitely they made a big showing in all of this.